Shalom Aleichem, welcome to Assyrian Dishes Gardening. I'm Julian and today I'll be showing you how to grow cherry tomatoes and beefsteak tomatoes from seed in a container. So let's start gardening. These are the equipment that you will need to sterilize and sanitize your growing equipment before you start planting. You will need a 1 litre spray bottle with water, 100% cold pressed neem oil, some dishwashing liquid, seed starting containers, trays, boiling water, some gardening shovels, plastic containers, seed starting mix, and some earthworm castings. To make the neem oil sanitizer, add 2 capfuls of the neem oil and 2 drops of the dishwashing liquid and shake. You will need to spray in each of the containers, inside and under, and your trays to prevent fungus gnats. To sterilize your seed starting mix, you will need a container, add about 10 litres or 3 gallons of seed starting mix. It's in the big container, mix it around a bit, break it up. Because your soil is dry, you will need to moisten it, and to sterilize it, you need to add boiling water. Do not use garden soil from outside because it contains bacteria. Always use seed starting mix. Your soil needs to be moist, but not too moist that it's too wet. Just needs to be just right, just like a cookie dough. Let it sit for a while, for about 5 minutes, so the boiling water sterilizes the soil. Then you will need to add 1 cup of worm castings to your seed starting mix to give it that extra nutrients, and 2 teaspoons of neem oil. Mix it all together and your seed starting mix is ready. These are the equipment you will need to start your seeds. You will need the sterilized seed starting mix, shovel, seed starting containers, trays, your seeds, neem oil spray, ground cinnamon, and some labels. First thing you need to do, check that your containers have drainage holes. The water doesn't stay inside your containers to prevent root rot. Next thing you do is add your soil, not all the way up, just a little bit like that, and then we're going to add the seeds. Let's fill them all up first, and then I'll come back and plant the seeds. The first thing you need to do is put 2 holes about 1/4 inch down, 1 inch spacing in each of the containers. I'm going to plant 2 seeds of each vegetable and in each hole, and just lightly cover them. You will need to add labels of the vegetable that you're growing so you don't forget what you've planted. You will also need to check with your last frost date on how many weeks you need to start planting before your last frost date. So with tomatoes, eggplants and peppers, you need to start at least 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date. Then all you need to do is spray with your neem oil to moisten it and to sanitize and sterilize the soil to prevent fungus gnats. On top of that, sprinkle some cinnamon, which is an anti-fungal prevention. These are the equipment you will need to make a grow light box and how to use a heat mat. You will need a clamp light, a light bulb which has 1600 to 3000 lumens and 4500 to 6500 Kelvin. You will need a heat mat and a 66 litre plastic container which has a lid. You will also need a cardboard box to lift the trays of your plants to be close to the clamp light, and you will need a marker and a box knife. The first thing you need to do is to disassemble the clamp light. Draw with a marker the point where you're going to put the clamp light to hold the edge of your lid and the center. From the center all the way to the lid, mark a line using the light. In the center, you're going to draw a circle or a square outline where you're going to cut the lid. Using a box knife, cut. So I've made a square cut in the middle to place the light globe. I've made another small cut in the middle for the spring, for the opening of the spring. Going down the slit, I've made another slit on the edge of the lid for the clamp light to hold on. I've put the light shade back on, screwed it in. Now we're going to screw in the light globe. I've plugged the power point. This is how it should look like. I'm going to place the heat mat at the bottom of this container. Originally I was going to put a box underneath, but I don't need to because the container of the seeds are high enough for the grow light to reach. So I'll just demonstrate. And I put my seedlings inside on top of the heat mat. Put the lid on top. The light reaches the seedlings. If it was too low, I would put a box underneath to reach the light. Keep the seedlings inside the grow box for 18 hours with the grow light on and 6 hours off, and keep the heat mat on all day. Today I'll be giving you a 1-week growth update on our seedlings. I needed some extra equipment, so I'll let you know what they are. I wrapped around some aluminium foil all around the grow light box and I taped it on the sides just to give it that extra light inside to reflect. Where my place is in the basement, it's a bit cold and not too much light comes in, so this helps it out. I also got 2 feet light fixtures, grow lights, with a T5 light bulb and stand, which has 6500 Kelvin, which is full daylight. So I just wanted to let you know where I got these LED lights. I got these LED lights from Walmart. You can get them from any department store. They are 1600 lumens and 5000 Kelvin. I'm going to be making another grow light box for my other vegetables that I'm planting. I got this one from Amazon, which is 1600 lumens with 6500 Kelvin. This is the heat mat that I got from Amazon. I'll put all the links in the description box. These are the 2 types of T5 grow lights that I bought, which were from Walmart and one was from Home Depot, or you can get them at any gardening supply stores. This one's called the Jiffy Hydro Grow Light. It has the T5 light bulb with a stand. And this is called the Mackenzie Grow Light. It has the same thing, the T5 light bulb and the stand. It's very easy to assemble. Put them on. I'm going to have more plants coming down here. That's why I got two. I will also be showing you how to water your seedlings. You'll need a watering can with some water and a turkey baster. So I just wanted to give you an update on the seedlings. The tomatoes and eggplant, that's the beefsteak tomato and the eggplant, and that's the cherry tomatoes. They started sprouting after 6 days. Check on your seedlings every day, but after 2 or 3 days you'll notice that the soil is looking dry and it's time to water them. This is how your soil will look like when it looks like it's dry and it's time to water them. Always water your plants in the tray from the bottom. You don't want to water it from the top. Fill it up about a quarter of the way, because remember, there are drainage holes from the bottom. The roots need watering. You don't need watering from the top. Another way you can tell if your seedlings need watering, if the containers feel like they're light. When they're heavy, you'll know that there is moisture inside. So I'll keep the water in here for only about an hour or so. You don't want to keep them in there all day and all night, because then they'll start getting root rot. And I'll show you how to take them out after they've been absorbed after half an hour to 1 hour. It's been 1 hour that I've watered the seedlings, and I'll show you now how to extract the water. Using a turkey baster, take it all out like that. Remove the water back in your watering can. Remove all the water from the trays. Don't leave anything in there. It's been 2 weeks now and the seedlings have started to get some true leaves. This is the beefsteak tomato, that's the true leaves. These are the baby leaves. This is a cherry tomato. So they're now ready to get some plant food, which is organic, water-soluble fertilizer. This needs to be at least 555. So if you're close to 555, which is NPK, that's what you need. Don't go over. If you do, you need to lessen the strength. I will also be separating the plants because they're too big to be in one plant for 2 vegetables. Potting them up again in these containers, which I've sprayed with the neem oil to sanitize them. And I've sterilized the seed starting mix with the neem oil, and I've added about a cup of worm castings. You'll also need some new labels, some cinnamon powder on top when we seed them to prevent fungus and mold. And we're going to be spraying them with a neem oil spray solution. You'll need to start feeding your plants with some plant food, organic fertilizer or compost tea as soon as they start getting their true leaves. Feed them every 7 days, but water them every 2 or 3 days when you see that their soil is dry. I'm going to place 1 teaspoon of this to some water. Mix it up and always water from the bottom of the tray. Keep this in here for about half an hour to 1 hour so the soil can extract the nutrients. Then you will need to extract the water out so you don't get root rot. It's been 1 hour since I've watered the plants. Now let's remove the water. Using the turkey baster, I just extract the water, place it back in the watering can. You can always use this plant food water solution to put back into your grass. Now I will be separating the plants and potting them in a different container so they have more room to grow. Beautiful roots that are growing. I'm just going to separate them carefully. 2 separate plants. Fill it up with the seeding mix again. Put an indent, the plant inside. Try to plant it as deep as possible so then the stem is up to the container lid, and I'll then put some extra soil on top. This will make the plant and stem much stronger. It'll grow healthy. I'll spray it with some neem oil for some moisture, cinnamon powder around the plant. That will prevent it from fungus gnats and mold. These are my beefsteak tomatoes separated in 2 different pots. I'll be taking the vegetables out every day for half an hour under shade to harden off, which is to accumulate to the weather, to the sun. You need to do this every day and then increase it by an hour and then 2 hours and then maybe a full day, but always bring them inside during the night. It's been 8 weeks since I planted the beefsteak tomato and cherry tomato from seed. Now it's time to plant them in containers. These are the equipment you will need. You'll need some organic vegetable potting mix, some mulch or wood chip for drainage, some tomato cages, bamboo stakes. You'll also need some organic vegetable fertilizer, water-soluble organic fertilizer, earthworm castings. This is the potting mix and the wood chip for drainage. You'll also need a container with drainage holes. This is a 5-gallon container, a water container, some labels, and some plant tape so we can tape the stems to the stakes. First thing we're going to do is add the wood chip at the bottom of the container for drainage, just like that. Then we'll add the potting soil, break off any lumps. This looks about right. We just fill it up to the line, just there. We're going to make a hole now in the middle. Plant only one tomato plant in a 5-gallon container. We're going to dig a deep hole because with the tomato plant, you can cut off a couple of branches from the bottom because the stem itself grows roots from the inside. Dig a deep hole like that. We're going to add 1 cup of earthworm castings, just like that, right in the center. Mix it up. I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of the organic fertilizer. For tomato plants, you need a 1/4 cup for the first time of transplanting, and then a second time during the season. Use only the specified amount for that vegetable. For tomatoes, it's 1/4 cup. Mix it in the soil. Take our tomato plant. This is the beefsteak tomato. Look how beautiful it's grown. 8 weeks. Take the label out. I'm going to take off these little branches off here from the bottom because you don't need them, because these are going to grow inside the soil and grow roots. I'm going to cut these off. Cut this last one here, and I'll keep this one. Just turn it upside down, just like that. Squeeze. Look at those beautiful roots. Turn it upside down, plant it in, place the soil back in. Now the next thing we're going to do is add the stake to support the tomato plant. Add some extra soil here. I'm going to place the stake, the bamboo stake, just close to the stem. Just like that. And I'm going to tape the planting tape to the tomato to support. I'm going to place one right here. It's Velcro, so it just twists around, doesn't damage the stem. Put one right here, just like that. Looks great. I'm going to add 1/2 cap of this organic water-soluble fertilizer into the watering can. Mix it up. Water the tomato plant. Going to add the wood chips on top for mulch. This will keep the soil moist and won't dry out the tomato plant, just like that. With beefsteak tomatoes, because it's a vine plant, it will grow out, so we're going to make it grow vertically. Now I'm going to plant the tomato cage on top. I've placed it through the stake, the pointy bits at the bottom. Just dig it in like that, all the way to the bottom. You can push through the stems through like this. This will give the tomato plant some support. And the last thing we're going to do is don't forget to label. This is my beefsteak tomato, and I'll come back when it's harvest time. And don't forget to always water your plant every day. Tomatoes need lots of moisture, and also add the water-soluble fertilizer to your plant once a week. And don't forget to fertilize with the granulated fertilizer. And this is the cherry tomato all staked up, and I've put the tomato cage. All I have to do is put the label and wait for harvest. Remember to water your cherry tomato every day with the water-soluble fertilizer once a week, and add the 1/4 cup of granulated fertilizer during the season. It's been 4 weeks since I planted the tomato plants into containers. It's time to fertilize with organic vegetable fertilizer. It's also time to do some pruning. We'll cut some suckers to allow airflow and trim some leaves from the bottom to prevent diseases. They've started flowering and setting fruit. As you can see, there's the flowers there, and there's a little tomato here. These are the beefsteak tomatoes. Flowers here, that's where the fruit will start setting from. Here too, these are the beefsteak tomatoes and cherry tomatoes. And that's how they start. They start flowering and then they start setting fruit. It's also time to do some pruning. We'll cut some suckers to allow airflow and trim some leaves from the bottom to prevent diseases. The first thing you'll need to do is cut the leaves that are very low to the ground to prevent diseases. So I'm just going to cut this. They don't have any flowers already set, so I'm just going to trim this off. They're too close to the ground just to prevent diseases. This one too, just trim it off like this. Another place you'll need to start cutting off or pruning is the suckers. This is an example of a sucker which is between the stem and another branch. So you don't need this. I'm going to cut this off. And this is how it should look like after you've trimmed and pruned from the bottom. So the energy goes into the stem to produce the fruit and the flowering. After you've pruned and trimmed the suckers and the leaves off the bottom, it's time to add the 1/4 cup of fertilizer at the bottom of the plant. This is the second time after transplanting the tomato plant. You need to do this twice with the tomato plants. You can use any organic vegetable fertilizer. Then all you have to do is just water in. It's also helpful to add some flowers around the tomato plants, just so the bees can come around and flower the tomato plants. And then the next time I'll see you is when we harvest the tomatoes. It's been 9 weeks since I transplanted the tomatoes in a container. Now it's time to harvest them. Tomatoes in Assyrian are called tamate. I love using tomatoes in salads, stews, dolma and maqlubi. I'll provide the links to the recipes in the description box. These cherry tomatoes are ready to harvest. Look at them, so beautiful. Even if they're a little bit green, the last two, I'm going to keep them in the house and they'll ripen up. All you have to do is just cut them from the stem. You don't have to pick at them and they'll be fresh when you leave them on the vine. Look at that, beautiful little cherry tomatoes. I have this other vine here that's ready to be cut down too, so I'll just cut it off. Look at that beautiful vine of cherry tomatoes. My beefsteak tomatoes are also ready to be harvested, and this is how they look like. I've got 3 ripe ones already and 3 other ones. They're still going to ripen as soon as I put them inside the house. Just going to cut them from the stem here, just like that. Look at these beauties, beautiful, red. Remember to subscribe to my channel, like, comment and share this video with your friends. Happy gardening everyone!